you seen Star Wars?
It's another one of those days where like a Star Wars actor, actress, person, celebrity says something small, and we all get really excited. And it could mean something, but it could mean nothing, and that's what we have today. Daisy Ridley said on some red carpet event thing that she will always be Rey. And I have one thing to say, I will always not care. No, I'm playing, I'm not trying to be rude. This is something we've all been expecting. The return of the sequel trilogy characters, like Rey, like Finn. Everyone's kind of 50-50 on Poe Dameron coming back. I don't see that one happening, but whenever these movies wrap up, whenever we finish a story in Star Wars, no matter what it is, the question always remains, what's next? And I think even looking at the Rise of Skywalker, even looking at the sequel trilogy, we have to ask ourselves, what's next? And it seems to be the continuation of the story that we already started. But before we get into all that, please leave a like on today's video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I feel like you have to do this, right? Like honestly, ask yourself this. Ask yourself this as a Star Wars fan, and let's say you like or dislike the sequels. Personally, I'm not a fan of them, and I don't have any emotional investment in them anymore, at least, and definitely not with the characters and their future, at least as it stands today. I feel like I change my mind on that sometimes, but as it stands today, as I feel about the sequels, and as you feel about these sequels, ask yourself, in 40 to 50 years, would you rather look back on this trilogy and look back on the sequel story and be like, okay, they made 3 movies, I didn't like them, and then the story just stopped, and like we did nothing, and there was nothing past the Rise of Skywalker, and I was just kind of forever disappointed? Or would you rather look back in 40, 50 years from now and say, okay, I disliked the movies, and then they continued making stories afterwards. Maybe there are some you disliked, maybe you liked some of them, maybe you like hated all of them and really disliked all of them, but would you rather look back and say like at least they tried to continue the story, at least like we kept Star Wars going? I mean, I don't know, does that diminish Star Wars? I mean, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong answer here. I'm genuinely asking you what you think about this, because you kind of have to weigh that option, right? Like, I'm sure if you ask someone from the original trilogy era, you know, do you think, you know, even if you didn't like the prequels, are you okay with the Star Wars that came after? Maybe they don't like the Clone Wars, maybe they don't like Rebels, maybe they don't like any of the new Star Wars stuff, and they're like, no, you know, the prequels ruined everything, and it should have stopped after Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. I mean, there are people who are genuinely like that, and people are the same way with the prequels now, so it's a curious cycle that we enter in as Star Wars fans, but the timing for this is a huge deal. And it seems like the return time for our heroes in these stories, and by heroes I mean the people in the real world, like Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman, and then Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, and Oscar Isaac. When I say heroes, these are the actors who play the heroes of our story. And it took, what, 40-something years for us to get the original trilogy cast back together. It is now taking 15 to 17 years to get the prequel trilogy cast back together in some capacity. I mean, I don't think Natalie Portman's going to be in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. She's dead in that one. Her character Padme is, but you will see Hayden and Ewan McGregor return in some capacity in that show while you see them on screen or not. We might see some Clone Wars flashbacks, but the point I'm trying to make here is that it took 15 years for them to get back together and reunite. 40 years for the original trilogy cast. How many years do you think it's going to take for the sequel trilogy cast members to do the same thing? And it seems like a window of opportunity that you can't really miss out on, right? Like, you have to ask yourself, as Lucasfilm, as storytellers, with the possibility of telling more stories about Rey, or about Finn, even about Poe if Oscar Isaac wants to come back, you have to reasonably take every opportunity you can to continue that story. Because I think a lot of us look back at the original trilogy stuff and with some regret of like, man, we should have continued the story a little bit after. I mean, I'm not saying we had to make the sequel trilogy, but looking at what we had with The Mandalorian Season 2 finale with Luke coming in, and you see him in the Book of Boba Fett, a lot of us, like, that's kind of just simply what we wanted to see Luke do, is just see what he was going to do as a Jedi after Return of the Jedi. And it could be something as simple as training someone, and he has no real conflict in his life. That's fun, and that's fine. And sadly, Carrie Fisher passed away in 2016, and that really changed what we could expect from the sequels. If they had made the movies 5 years earlier, maybe would not have been in that situation. It's, of course, hard to predict the future, and you can't put these kind of what-if scenarios on these movies, but this is how you have to think about when it comes to storytelling. And why would you want to risk losing the opportunity like you did with the original trilogy characters with the sequel trilogy characters. We're not wasting this opportunity with the prequel trilogy characters, clearly. I mean, pretty much in 2015, I think 2014, almost immediately after Lucasfilm was bought out by Disney, Kathleen Kennedy and the executives over that Lucasfilm were like, you know what, we got to get Ewan McGregor back, because people are becoming more nostalgic for the prequels. The demand for the prequels was going up. They listened to the fans, they listened to the audience, and if we waited another 10 to 15, 20 years, I mean, you know, life's crazy. You never would have known what would happen, so maybe Ewan wouldn't have come back. Maybe he would never acted again. Maybe he would have retired. Maybe he didn't want to do the character. Maybe they wouldn't have even wanted to do the character at that point, because the wave of prequel positivity would have faded away. So many possibilities in life. Don't you think it is the time for Lucasfilm to look at the sequels and say, okay, in the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to make more stories with these characters, because we're not going to miss out on that window of opportunity. Am I wrong? I mean, tell me if you think I'm wrong, if you think this is the wrong trajectory for Lucasfilm to go in the future of Star Wars. I think it's the right move based off of the wrong set of cards. I think they got a bad hand, and I've said this before, you know, you made your bed, now you got to bang whatever crawls into it, and Lucasfilm made our bed here. I'm not excited to see where the sequels go after Rise of Skywalker. I have no emotional investment in any of the characters. I think they have really just taken a lot of the steam out of Star Wars, and I left the sequel trilogy going like, what was the point? What was the message? I didn't feel anything at this end stage, and that's sad. I'm not saying that as hateful towards these movies. I'm just saying it as like regretful and just kind of disheartened of like, man, I really wish I would have liked these movies, and I wish they would have done something for me. Do I think making a post-Rise of Skywalker trilogy or series focused on Rey and Finn, will that make me like their characters more? Maybe, maybe not. Will that make me like the sequel trilogy more? Probably not in the long haul. But at the end of the day, I would rather them try and fail than not try at all and just leave me completely unsatisfied with everything. Because if they make a series about Finn trying to become a Jedi and learning from Rey, I'll be like, okay, like that's cool. That's a cool concept. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But at least I feel like I have some closure on that situation of like, okay, the story just simply didn't work, or the story didn't work for me and it worked for others. And at the end of the day, that's okay. But I would rather them try it and it not work than to not try it at all and just don't do anything ever again with anything past the Rise of Skywalker. Because I do want to see kind of what happens to the galaxy. I mean, I don't have much of an interest in it, but I feel like the story just has to go on, and it would be even more of a disservice to Star Wars and more proof of a nail in the coffin of Star Wars to look at the Rise of Skywalker and just be like, you know what? The story was so bad, and there's like, we're really just right back where we started at the beginning of the original trilogy, that we're just not going to do anything with it because we don't really know what else to do, like other than just keep retreading history. I would hate for it to end like that. I would rather them go, okay, well, we fucked up and now let's try to fix it. But tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm Star Wars Only. Hope you guys enjoy this video. I'll see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.